Today we're focusing on the hips, particularly muscles that attach the groin to the inner knee to help with glute activation. And then this mobility is going to enhance outward movement of the legs and aid in tracking of the knee over your ankle. So go ahead and take a stance. We'll move into horse shoulder drop. So you'll step your left leg back nice and wide, heels in, toes out at about a 45-degree angle, and then drop your left shoulder, placing the hands on the thighs, and then you'll drop the right shoulder. So you can really move as slowly or as quickly as you would like. If you want a little bit more upper back, you'll keep the shoulders higher than the level of the hips. And if you want more of the whole back from shoulders to low back, then you'll drop the shoulders in between the thighs so that you're getting a little bit longer orientation of those muscles. Okay, so coming up out of that, we will step forward, take the feet about mat distance. Again, heels in, toes out, and squat down into a frog stance. So I want to keep the weight into the outer edges of the feet. You can bring your hands together, maybe make a fist, whatever works for you hand-wise, but bring them together, placing your elbows to the inner thighs just to help keep your knees open. Draw your tailbone down and your pelvic floor in and up as you lift your chest. Now, if this depth is too much for you, then go ahead and sit on a medicine ball. That'll help alleviate any kind of pressure through the knees. But still, you want to keep shoulders down your back, chest open, weight towards the outer edges of your feet. Go ahead and release this by sitting back, coming into a supine butterfly. So for butterfly, bring your feet together and your knees open. Find the length through your spine. Maybe take your hands to the tops of your thighs and give them a little push for low back traction. You can put the foam roller underneath your knees. That will help tilt the pelvis just a little bit so you have a slight angle through your low back. That can be really comfortable for some people. Let your palms face up, shoulders drop down and away from your ears. Coming up out of this, go ahead and roll over to lift yourself up for a half pigeon. So I'm going to take the right knee forward, place it in line with your wrist, and you want your thigh bone to be parallel to the long edge of your mat. So just make sure that your right knee isn't pulled too far across the body, but you also don't want it winging out to this side. So a nice parallel line there for the thigh. As you extend your left leg back, come onto the top of your foot, and then fold over your shin, your ankle, your toes, so that your hips are square and you can really get into the length of your spine while opening up through the right side of your glutes. Go ahead and lift yourself up and switch sides. Bring your left foot forward, right leg back. Remember, you want that nice long line through the thigh. Femur bone lines up with the long edge of the mat. And then, your left foot at this point, you want to make sure that it's not underneath your body, but in front of the right hip, so that you can really get maximum extension through your low back. You can always put a block underneath the hip of the leg that's bent. It'll give you some nice support, especially if you feel like you're falling or leaning to this side. Go ahead and lift yourself up. Draw your legs back so that you're coming onto your belly for a prone butterfly this time. So you want to push your knees as wide out as you can, bringing the feet together. You don't have to have your feet touching, but you at least want them in that general vicinity. And then rest. Rest your head on your arms or the block. Just try to get as comfortable as you can, allowing gravity to pull the feet down as your knees come wider. All right, lift yourself up. We move into a prone pigeon this time. So as you sweep your legs around and come onto your back, cross your right ankle over your left thigh. So you're creating essentially a figure 4 position, and then basket weave your fingers either around your shin or your hamstring. You'll pull your left knee in towards your left armpit. Right knee kind of lines up with right armpit. Flex your right foot and allow yourself to just melt into your back. So there's a tendency to roll the hips up off the ground. Just see if you can work to keep that flat. It might take a little bit of time, but it does happen. Relax your shoulders away from your ears and breathe into your stretch. Let's go ahead and switch sides, crossing left ankle over the right. Keep your hips and your knees as square as you can, because one side does like to drop in a little bit further than the other. You can kind of rock around a little bit if you need to. Check your chin, make sure it's not jutting up or really pulled deeply into the clavicles. Nice neutral neck. Cool, let's lift up out of this and come into something called fallen triangle. So if you bring yourself into a tabletop position, you can extend your right leg across your body and drop down to the hip. It feels a little awkward at first, but it gets there. Walk down onto your forearms and push your left leg back. You can tuck the toes for an added element of the IT band stretch. If that's too much for you, don't worry about it. Just come to the top of your left foot. Rest your head. Try to drape your torso over the right thigh, right hip. Nice, let's lift up. Switch your legs out. So tabletop, left leg comes through that space that your legs and your wrists make. Extend it up and out and fold down over left hip, left thigh. So as you get a little bit more mobile in this, you can always push your left leg up a little bit higher, more towards the armpit region, creating more space through your low back, upper glutes. Keep your head relaxed. Unclench your jaw. Find your release. All right, let's lift up. We've got one more for you. Moving into tree on the foam roller. So you'll take the foam roller and place it across your sacrum. You'll need to lift up to get it underneath you. Roll down onto your back, extend your left leg out long, and then bend your right knee and tuck your foot as close as you can to the foam roller. It doesn't need to be on the foam roller, you just want it close to it. So you've got kind of this half butterfly positioning going on. It's a nice release for the psoas, but it gets into the outer hip a little differently with that pressure point. As always, palms face up, relax your jaw, your neck. Let gravity help you out. All right, so let's switch sides. Make sure the foam roller is in fact on your sacrum, that hard flat bone right there at the top of the buttocks, and not at the low back. Bend your left knee, the foot comes as close to the foam roller as you can. And then, if you notice that you're leaning to one side, do your best to square off. Keep that weight even between right and left. Breathe into your hips. All right, lift up, walk the feet in, lift your hips, move the foam roller out of the way, and then just splay out like a starfish. Open your feet, open your arms and palms. Give yourself at least one big breath in and out before you roll on over into a comfortable fetal position and then sit up. All right, guys, thanks so much. Finding that comfortable seated position. Next week, we will focus on the shoulders.